James Clapper, stories of a Trump and Russia collusion are fantasy. Former Director of National Intelligence James Clapper has admitted that there is absolutely no evidence of collusion between Trump and Russia. Speaking on This Week on Sunday morning, Clapper was forced to admit that the DNI failed to find any evidence of a Russia-Trump relationship. James Clapper: at the time I left office, I had no evidence available to me that there was collusion, but that's not necessarily exculpatory since I did not know the state of the investigation or the content. Breitbart.com reports he also said that his March 5th statement to meet the press, that he had not seen any evidence of collusion, had been made before former FBI Director James Comey had testified to Congress about the investigation. I can't refute it and I can't confirm it, Clapper said. In his testimony on March 20th, Comey would not answer whether there was evidence of collusion or coordination, but merely said the FBI was investigating that. Tapper never asked Clapper whether he had come under pressure since making his March 5th statement to back away from his initial conclusions. Another former senior Obama administration official had likewise said there was no evidence of collusion between the Trump campaign and the Russian government. Former acting CIA Director Michael Morrell said on March 16th, on the question of the Trump campaign conspiring with the Russians here, there is smoke, but there is no fire at all. A front-page New York Times report on Inauguration Day revealed that there were ongoing investigations into 3 Trump aides, but added that there was no conclusive evidence of wrongdoing. Let's take a quick listen. Clapper on Comey firing is a victory for the scoreboard for Russia.
Joined now by the former Director of National Intelligence, James Clapper. Mr. Clapper, thank you for joining us this morning. I want to pick up on that question right there, because as you know, the President and his associates and the Vice President have on several occasions cited you in their talking point that there was no collusion with the Russians. I want to show first the Vice President, then the President.
The facts that are in public today are very clear. The former Director of National Intelligence has said there is no evidence of collusion.
You were convinced you did nothing. And
I'm not convinced. Clapper is convinced.
DNI,
other people are convinced.
Yes.
Everybody's convinced.
Everybody said the same
thing. They say there's no collusion.
Get it out of the White House.
They're all saying there is no collusion. Now, you did say back in your original testimony that you hadn't seen evidence of collusion. Tell us exactly what you think right now in your response to the President and the Vice President.
First, George, thanks for having me. I need to make clear, I think, to start with, what the relationship that I had with the FBI with respect to counterintelligence investigations. The FBI is unique in that it straddles both law enforcement and counterintelligence. And at the time we did our intelligence community assessment, which we published publicly on the 6th of January, there was no evidence of any collusion included in that report. That's not to say there wasn't evidence. There could have been, might be, I don't know, in the investigation. I did not know there was a formal investigation or that it was addressing potential political collusion between the Trump campaign and the Russians.
That's not the kind of thing the FBI would tell the Director of National Intelligence?
Not necessarily. The counterintelligence investigation, particularly if they are going to potentially implicate criminal activity, I left it to the judgment of both Director Comey and before him Director Mueller to decide whether, when, and what to tell me about counterintelligence investigations, and that was a practice followed for the 6.5 years that I was DNI. And again, out of deference to the sensitivity of these reports and because they invariably involve U.S. persons.
So what is the clearest statement you can make about what you know about any possible collusion between President Trump, his associates, and the Russians during the campaign?
Well, my access insight here is aging off since officially, you know, that ended on the January 20th. And at the time I left office, I had no evidence available to me that there was collusion. But that's not necessarily exculpatory, since I did not know the state of the investigation or the content would have been turned up in it.
You worked very closely with former FBI Director James Comey for many years. You've seen a lot of different reports coming out. We saw the statement from the president. He says that Director Comey cleared him on 3 different occasions, saying he wasn't under investigation. We have these reports that perhaps that the president asked him to make a loyalty pledge during their dinner in January. Was it appropriate for the FBI Director to go to dinner with the president like that?
Well, I know I happened to have been at the Hoover Building for another event on January 27th, and I spoke briefly with Director Comey about the dinner. He conveyed to me that he'd been invited, and he was, and this is my characterization, uneasy with it, simply because of the optic or the appearance of potentially compromising his independence and that of the Bureau. But I think as a professional courtesy, when the president asks you to dinner, you go. I do not know. I have no direct insight into actually what was discussed during that dinner.
So you have no idea. Do you believe that James Comey would make a pledge of loyalty to the president?
I would find that profoundly out of character for what I know of Jim Comey and his integrity. I'd find that very surprising.
We heard this week from CIA Director Mike Pompeo and the new Director of National Intelligence, Dan Coats, that Russia and their cyber activities are the foremost national security threat to the United States today. Do you agree with that?
I do. The 2 most capable nation-state adversaries in the cyber domain are clearly Russia and of course China. And I do think Russia poses a huge threat in the way they have used the cyber domain. And that, to me, by the way, is the big issue here, is Russian interference in our political process, in our election process. And that is an egregious act by them, and they will continue to do that, and I think even more aggressively than they have in the past. And I think it's something all American citizens need to be aware of. And if there's ever been a clarion call for vigilance and action here to thwart this, this is it.
Have they succeeded in their basic goal of undermining public faith in the U.S. democratic process, and how have the president's actions this week impacted that?
Well, they have certainly, their first objective without respect to their stance on either candidate, but their first objective was to sow doubt, discord, and dissension in this country. And the Russians have to be celebrating with the minimal expenditure of resources and what they have accomplished. And of course, what has
Here is where I disagree with that, where he says that the Russians involved in it. First he's saying they're not involved, then he's saying they are involved. I mean, it's ridiculous. How about those rigged voting machines of Hillary's in favor of Hillary? I mean, you think the American people are really that dumb to believe that Hillary didn't, with Obama, didn't rig those machines? Unbelievable. There's still saying the same narrative. And notice he used the word optics again. If you watch my other video on the word that the media continually is using recently.
What's unfolded now, here the leader of the lead of the investigation about potential collusion between Russia and the Trump campaign has been removed. So the Russians have to consider this as another victory on the scoreboard for them.
Finally, sir, we've all been reading about this massive cyber attack over the weekend, this ransomware cyber attack, 150 countries, 200,000 people. Is this just the beginning?
Well, that's the concern that Monday, when everyone returns to the office, that this ransomware attack will be even larger. Senator McCain held a hearing last Thursday on this very issue, and I think during the course of that I mentioned ransomware as something that we're going to see more and more of. So this is a very serious problem, and I think it's going to grow.
Mr. Clapper, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me, George.
Let us know what you think in the comments below, but I disagree with a lot of the things that he said. That Russia, it's like a notch in the collar for Russia. They're laughing at us. That they can't believe the stupidity. That's what they're laughing at. It's not a notch in their collar. They're laughing. They can't believe that everything is in such disarray due to the corporate media, actually. The corporate media that's spreading these. That's why Clapper, it looks like he's just, yes, he's saying there's no evidence, and then he's back and forth. I can go on forever. Let us know what you think in the comments below, and thank you again for watching.